Electrocast.
Why wait to see if you'll get something you like this Valentine's Day when you can go to BlueNile.com and find something you'll love? Whether you're looking to treat yourself to a little winter sparkle or show a galentine how much you appreciate them, Blue Nile offers a wide selection of high-quality designs, expert guidance, and free 30-day returns for the ultimate peace of mind. You can even design your own jewelry. Right now, save up to 50% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
On this episode of Missing the Point, we once again head back into DK's time machine and redraft the NBA from 1990 to 1999 to see which of our two teams of NBA nerds can put together the most dominant team of arguably the most prolific period in the history of the NBA. This is Missing the Point, episode 55. But it's all relative.
Welcome to all the adoring fans of Missing the Point to today's 1990s fantasy basketball draft. It's self-explanatory. It's in the name. We're going to split the two usual teams up and we're going to have them redraft two fantasy teams of the best players of the 1990s and then a sixth man and a coach. And they're going to explain to me why their team is better. And whoever does a better job of that wins the contest. I'm your host, the man with the plan, who is his own biggest fan, DK Sizzle, Dave Clarke. I have the pride, the privilege, nay, the pleasure of introducing you to the finest group of podcasters this side of the Mississippi Delta, the pride of New England, the entire group of sexy soothsayers that make up Missing the Point. I'm going to introduce everyone. First up, we have Hollywood Rayshawn Buchanan, a man who recently suffered the worst broken ankle since AI crossed up Ty Lue. Rayshawn, if you had 6 hours to spend $1 million, what would you spend it on?
In this podcast of numbers, so we can all get paid.
Oh, wow. Promotion for the podcast. A really altruistic response.
That's right.
That was really nice of you, man. I doubt anyone's going to say anything that nice. I think I should have ended with you because I think everyone's going to say really selfish and horrible things now, especially Mike. Anyway, next up, we have his teammate Broadway Joe Malkin, who lives in a house with his wife and kids. We frequently do hear shouts of mommy, who is that man? And I don't know, honey, I've called the police and stuff like that. But when he's recording, it's neither here nor there. So Joe, same question, $1 million, 24 hours. How do you spend it?
Well, I would take $20 at the beginning and give myself a haircut or go get one because I need one desperately.
Is the reason you're not currently getting a haircut because you don't have $20? Because I feel like that's an easily confronted obstacle. I'll loan you the $20.
I was going to say, if anybody listening wants to give me $20, I have $6 million, but I need $20. That's how rich people work, right? I would probably put it in the bank for my family to use when I inevitably die before all of them.
All right. Joe has stolen the most boring possible answer to the question, but the most practical at the same time, because things like that do accrue interest. Maybe put a little in an IRA, a mutual fund. Those are words I've heard. All right. Coming up next, switching over to the other team, we have the deepest and longest friendship inside of Missing the Point. That's right. It's the dynamic duo of Mike Marcangelo and Crushing Coors Lights. Mike, you tall drink a low-caloric alcoholic beverage. How the heck are you, man? How are you spending that $1 million?
I mean, there'd be a lot of Coors Lights, dude. A lot of Coors Lights. I'd probably, I don't know. I'm a really avid golfer. Bobby knows this, so I might invest in a course. Make that money back, but definitely would not give it to the show or to any of you. Just
yeah, no, I know that to be true for sure. Yeah, I know that in my soul. Bobby, did you like the bait and switch there? Did you think that you were going to be the Coors Light can?
I did think
you thought I was talking about your
friendship. You really took a sharp left turn on me.
Yeah, you thought I was talking about your deep and adoring friendship with Mike, but really, I buried the lead.
I've been outdueled by a Coors Light can.
Correct. All right, I have your little blurb. You ready for yours?
I am. Yeah,
all right. Lastly, but certainly not leastly, we have the real BK, Bob Kelly, who famously once pulled a child from a burning building. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I read that wrong. He once threatened to burn down a building full of children. That paints a really different picture. Bobby, you've had a lot of time to think. Everyone else has already answered. $1 million. What do you do? Go.
I was going to spend it on weed, but I forgot.
Oh, wow. Yeah. We're cutting that out. Just kidding.
I figured if anyone would appreciate it, it'd be you. You know,
I do appreciate it. I'm high right now, but I also think you had so much time to think right there. But I liked it. It was a solid answer. It was
short-term memory is a bitch, bro.
Producing our show today is the lovely and beautiful and talented Craig D'Alessandro. Craig, you're sitting here. Everyone else has spent their money frivolously. I want to know, what do you spend $1 million on?
I would get the best camper that I could find and go on a cross trip around the country, and I'd spend frivolously on my way there.
What's a cross trip?
Camper, though?
Cross-country trip?
A cross trip.
Yeah. Cross the country.
That's a good answer, honestly.
Not like CrossFit.
Do I look like someone who does cross with you?
Yeah. What are you talking about? You're cross. I'm looking right at you. You look like a fucking tall drink of something. All right. So I'm going to flip it. I'm going to say Joe and Rayshawn are tails. Mike and Bobby are heads. Here we go. It's heads. Mike and Bobby choose first. So here's how it's going to go. They're going to pick a player. It's positionless. They can pick whoever they want. Nobody can pick Michael Jordan. It's not going to be fair. In my opinion, if you pick Michael Jordan, you win the game automatically. He was the best player of the 90s. He did beat all these other players already. So I think we just need to – you can pick him as a GM.
No.
So we're gonna NBA live it. There's no Michael Jordan. It's just,
right. No Michael
Jordan. NBA live.
We couldn't get the rights to his name. We couldn't get the rights to his likeness. You can have anyone else you want. All right. So Mike and Bobby with the first pick in the inaugural MTP era draft. Who do you choose?
We're going to go with 1998, 1999 Allen Iverson. He averaged 26.8 points a game, 4.6 assists per game, and 4.9 rebounds per game. I don't know of any better point guard in the 1990s. Bobby, how do you feel about this pick?
Yeah, no, so this was one that I'm sure DK you'll be shocked by. This was all my doing. You know my affinity for point guards, and especially ones that can just straight score the basketball. Allen Iverson is the most prolific scorer that we saw throughout the late 90s, early 2000s, but that late 90s AI, before he turned into the prima donna of Allen Iverson, was just, he was unstoppable, man. And the team that we're going to end up surrounding him with is going to be the team that we all wish AI had his entire career, and going to bring, maybe in my opinion, one of the more undervalued players of the 90s, his first championship. So we're definitely going Allen Iverson, pick number 1 for the MTP draft.
That's a good pick. I feel like the idea of building a team around Allen Iverson, the potential that Allen Iverson could have had if he had some players, is a good one. But you're also taking a little bit of a punt, because I mean, I would think that the 2001 version of Allen Iverson is the peak Allen Iverson, not the 99 version.
You couldn't pick him.
Well, you couldn't pick him. So you have to go like, we need AI. we need to get him in there. This is the idea for the team. It might not be the absolute best, but you're right. He was great. What do you guys think of his first pick, Joe and Ray? What do you guys think? Were you going to pick him? Were you going to take AI?
To say it wasn't on our list. So
yeah, definitely someone that I did think about. I didn't have him there at that moment. I mean, obviously I know he was picked in the middle of the 90s. He was drafted in 96, obviously, as the first overall pick. But I mean, that's an excellent pick, obviously. I think honestly, whoever we had picked first, like, you can't go wrong with that. But yeah, young AI was a problem. So, I'm sure they'll make worse picks than AI, but they started off pretty well.
It's a good pick. I think Allen Iverson is my all-time favorite non-Celtic. So we're off to a good start here. So Serpentine over to the other team for their first pick in the inaugural Missing the Point era drafting team versus team sport type game. Who do you guys pick?
All right, so this one should be, Mike should like this one for sure. I'm sure he's going to have something to say, Bobby as well. Actually, Dave, you might too, because, you guys don't like...
Turns out we all have a lot of things to say about a lot of things.
Right, but I mean, I'm saying, well, if you let me finish, sir. No, this is, we're actually, it's back-to-back guards that are going to be picked first. So we're actually going to go with 1990 Isaiah Thomas. At that time, he won his second ring in a row with Detroit, and came off a Finals MVP that year after beating Portland, and he was at the peak of his powers at that moment. So, for a guy that was 6 feet 6'1", came out of Indiana. He was the guy on that team. So yeah, and I'd like, someone that's going to be able to go back and forth to score with Allen Iverson. So yeah, going with Isaiah Thomas from 1990, he was at the height of his powers. That to us was the obvious choice there.
Yeah, 18.4 points per game, 9.4 assists per game in 37 minutes a night. He was shooting 78% from the line. I mean, he was good from everywhere, a little bit low on the 3-point percentage at about 31%, but was definitely a facilitator, and having won a championship that year, I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good pick because the matchup is already interesting, right? Like the Isaiah Thomas type point guard, the classic type point guard, like with, put big men around him, pick and roll, like do all this stuff, to the Allen Iverson, I can score from anywhere. Like, I'm a freak athlete. I splash all over the court. It's an interesting matchup. And it's also probably a superior era pick to AI's era, because 1990, Isaiah Thomas is coming off that Bad Boys season. Like, they're, like you said, they're fresh off a championship. Like, he's surrounded by absolute killers. His mentality's there. He's a 9 or 10-year vet at that point, right? Like, he's at the peak of his powers, like you said. I mean, against a young, scrappy AI, I love this already. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about that pick? Is it all respect across the board in the guard position? And I will say, by the way, just sorry to cut you off, Mike, we're not picking by 1 through 5 on the floor here. Just want the listeners at home to know that we did just happen to both pick guards right there. But we can pick anyone. We can pick a coach. You could go to the 5 now. It doesn't matter. So just putting that out there. They're just building their team around guards, which is, it's a decent play. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you can't go wrong with the first pick. And Isaiah that year, like as Rayshawn said, was at the height of his powers. He was part of the Bad Boys in Detroit. So it's a great pick. I wish I could hate on it, but I don't.
Yeah, you got to remember, Isaiah Thomas is the reason that was Jordan before Jordan. You know what I mean? He was the guy that no one could beat, and finally Jordan was able to break through and take him down. But before Jordan came around, Isaiah Thomas was the guy for that 2-3 years. So, yeah, hard to hate on that. He is the original, as they call it, point guard. So, yeah, hard to hate.
I think, and the guy that Jordan seemed to respect the most.
Yeah.
I think he was right there with MJ, and since he can't have MJ, it's not a bad idea to take the next best thing. All right. We're on to pick number 2 for the Mike and Bobby team. Who you guys got? Let's see. I want to see these teams develop here.
Number 2 overall, we're going with the 1998-1999 Tim Duncan. He averaged 23.2 points per game, 12.4 rebounds per game. It was a first-team All-NBA. And that man, he was a problem then. He was a problem for the rest of his career. These 2 players are the type of players that you build a team around.
Yeah. So, DK, I'm gonna shout this right back to our talk this past week with unstoppable pick and roll tandems. Right now, what we're setting up is literally the most unstoppable pick and roll tandem in the history of the NBA. You have Tim Duncan coming out to set a high pick for Allen Iverson. All right. So now you have this duo that when that pick and roll is ran, it's going to be unstoppable. You're going to have Duncan streaking towards the rim. You have Iverson able to create that shot. And also, it could be a deadly pick and pop because Duncan can hit that 18-footer. He can hit that 15
off the backboard.
Right. So it's just going to be an unstoppable tandem when we put these 2 together. If you were to pick one guy to put with Allen Iverson throughout his career, I would have picked Tim Duncan, and I think that would have been an unstoppable, because not only are you counteracting Allen Iverson's Madonna mentality, where he thinks he's just a guy, with this Tim Duncan who is the ultimate team player, but their games just coincide with each other so well. So Tim Duncan, 100% second pick in our draft.
So just to get an idea of what, very well painted right there, that pick and roll you're going to run, but are you playing Duncan at the 4? Is he the power forward?
Yeah, he's the 4.
Okay, cool. So you might go a little bigger. We might, it seems like you're prioritizing, you might not, but it seems like you're prioritizing speed, fundamentals, athleticism, ability to hit big shots. Like we're covering the bases here. This is pretty good. All right. So you guys, so far, Mike and Bobby have Allen Iverson at the 1, point guard position, Tim Duncan at the 4. Let's shoot it back over to the other team. Who you guys got second? Tell me about your team.
Well, before we make the pick, but damn it. This was a Bobby pick, wasn't it? Bobby chose.
It was. Yeah.
I knew.
Were you going to pick him?
I was. Definitely was going to be next. But I was actually going to pick the year before, so 97 Duncan, because he came in right away and was just, I know they won the championship that year, 98-99. That was the lockout insurance season, but he came out the gates firing. Like, I think it was like 21-11, like right away. And there's a player that played on the Phoenix Suns. His name was, I forget what his real name was, but his nickname was Hot Rod Williams. And he gave that man the business in the playoffs. I mean, worked his ass from beginning to end. So he knows all too well about how good Tim Duncan was from the jump. So if you don't believe me, go back and watch the tape on this. So that is awesome. But not so fast, Mr. Kelly and Mr. Marcangelo. Me and Mr. Malkin have a pick just for you. So we talked about, you guys talked about pick and roll and having the most unstoppable pick and roll. And, that was good. I think that was a pretty good pick there with Mr. Tim Duncan, Mr. Fundamental. But we're going to go back just a few years before then. So like I said, we picked IT. Now we're going to go with 1994 Hakeem Olajuwon. So that was the pick there. So, Joe, if you got the number, you can run it down. But like I said, yeah, Hakeem was the guy that we, thought about for our second pick there.
I got them all. And we're going with him in the 93-94 season because he, in 80 games, shot 53% from the floor, 42% from 3-point. And 72% from the free throw line. So consistent across the board with 27.3 points per game. And mind you, that year, not only did he win the NBA championship, but he was also the finals MVP that year. Also the NBA most valuable player. He was an all-star, literally go down the list. And
defensive player of the year too, I believe.
Yeah, he was. And he was consistent all the way through his career. And this was in the height. Had one of his best seasons of all time. And you're right. I mean, that pick and roll, I mean, we're basically just running pick and rolls all day on both teams at this point.
It's a really good pick because you're actually seeing a culture develop already in both of these teams because Bobby and Mike have a young, scrappy team. They have, as much as you might think of Tim Duncan as a veteran, they picked, a young, just into the league, basically smoking everybody. Nobody knew he was going to be like this fun to watch, this good. Tim Duncan, young, slashing, scrappy Allen Iverson, him embarrassing himself in press conferences, whatever. And then you have this other team. If we were playing twos, this would be a great twos, because you got Hakeem Olajuwon and Isaiah Thomas, who are both like 10-year vets when they get picked by these two guys. They're both, Olajuwon's going to be 31, 32 by this point when you guys picked him. So he's in there. He knows all the tricks of the trade. He's not going to let these young guns get over on him. I love this matchup already. I can't wait. What do you guys think of it?
I love Hakeem. I do like it. He was on my list of guys I pitched to Mike. I really do like Hakeem. I do think that we have the perfect center to counteract him when we get there.
Yeah, you're playing him at the 5, right? Hakeem Olajuwon at the 5.
Yeah, at the 5. Yep.
All right. Just building your little team over here. I want to get it right.
I think we're going to have someone to counteract him. However, Hakeem Olajuwon is one of the greatest centers in NBA history. I mean, there's no doubting that. He couldn't get the championship. I mean, there's a reason this man is not involved in this competition until MJ retired. However, like Hakeem the dream, man. You can't hate on him. It's impossible. Best defensive center, one of the best defensive centers of all time, one of the best scoring centers of all time. So what else could you really ask for?
Mike, you're happy with Tim Duncan? You didn't get Hakeem Olajuwon. What are you thinking? Was he on your guys' list? Were you gonna pick him?
Yeah, well, it was one of the guys that Bobby had originally pitched. We've been going back and forth on this for a little while, but I think as it's currently constituted, this matchup is must see, right? So I don't really know who has the edge yet. I understand why they picked him. I know why Bobby wanted to, but I think R5 is going to combat him like really.
Is that your
well.
next pick? Or are you about to pick your center?
No,
not yet.
Tell me your next pick then.
So. Bobby, we're doing the pick and roll, but we need that shooter. We just need someone on the outside just to make sure, just for a knockdown shot whenever you need it. So number 3 overall is going to go to 1993, 1994 Reggie Miller, who averaged 19.9 points per game. He shot 50% from the field, 42% from threes, and had a 90% free throw percentage.
100% shit talk percentage. 100% shit talk.
Yeah, this man was
AI and Reggie Miller on the same team. What?
You know it, man. You know it.
This man was a certified G and a bona fide stud, Rayshawn, and you cannot teach that.
Yeah,
that's right.
I like it.
You like that? Using your own quotes against you.
I see that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, Reggie Miller, man. So I always said Michael Jordan got me into basketball. Reggie Miller kept me. This man, not only are we going to have the best scorer with Allen Iverson. We're going to have the best 4 that you've ever seen. But now also we're going to have the best knockdown 3 shooter, maybe in NBA history. It's close to Ray Allen. But add on top of that the clutchness factor and that shit-talking factor. You can't miss with Reggie Miller, man. The bloodlines run deep. We got Cheryl Miller, obviously one of the best women's basketball players ever. So Reggie Miller is a no-brainer to me here. One of my favorite basketball players ever. I'll never forget, random like throwback here. He hit a half-court shot. This is one of my first earliest memories of basketball. He hit a half-court shot against the Bulls once that was just, it was the most insane game winner I've ever seen in my life. And since then, I had an affinity for Reggie Miller. So it's a no-doubter here. We have Iverson, Duncan, and Miller. You know, even if they collapse in on the pick and roll, kick it out, man. Kick it out to Reggie, and he's knocking that shot down.
Okay, I have some questions. Just to get kind of an idea of what you guys are going for here, because, you know, you have 2021 knowledge of the game of basketball. So you can have Reggie Miller. It's your team. You can have him play however you want. Is he taking the volume of threes that Reggie Miller took? Or are you fully aware of the fact that, like, Steph Curry is a thing? So you bet on his percentages and not his volume, and you go, Reggie, you shoot. You have the green light every single time you're in this spot, this spot, and this spot. Are you working the ball to him and shooting to that degree? And do you not think that AI is maybe not the guy? Because, like, look, on paper right now, just on scoring, you guys are going to score 250 points a game. Like, you absolutely went for scores like across the entire board, which I love it. I absolutely respect it. But you're going for a little bit of a Kyrie Harden thing when you have Miller the way I think you want to play him and Allen Iverson. Do you think that is going to be a chemistry issue?
I don't. Yeah, because Reggie is one of the best movers without the ball in NBA history. So he doesn't need to have the ball. He never did when he was in Indiana. He wasn't, you know what I mean? He wasn't the point forward because that didn't even exist.
But are you sure that Iverson's not just going to shoot off the dribble instead of going to him?
No, but at the same time, I'm okay with either of them shooting.
Like,
no, I get what you're saying. You know? I get what you're saying, but I'm okay because Iverson is a high volume shooter. That's what he was. That's how he scored his points. But at the same time, you can't double team. If you're going to double team Iverson, that leaves Miller open. If you're going to fade towards Miller to prevent that shot, then guess what? Now Iverson has that driving lane and Duncan has a path to the rim. So no matter what you do at this point with this team, they're going to score. So that's what we were thinking, 100%.
What do you guys think, Ray and Joe? You scared about that pick? You mad about that pick? What do you think?
I mean, I loved Reggie Miller. He definitely was on the list for us. We had talked about that before the show. I mean, obviously, you know, Reggie is a beast. But I mean, to me, I know you brought up saying that the 2021 knowledge, but I feel like if this is a 90s show, we're doing the time vote. So it's not something where he was going to be a high volume shooter. He may take.
That's the whole concept of the game, though. So you can, like, it's their team. So they're going to draft.
Oh, got you. Okay.
Too. They're going to draft the coach too, and they're going to be like, this is what we're going to tell Reggie Miller to do. Because at the end, we're all going to have a big argument about whose team is going to win. As much as we've all been being really nice about everyone's predictions, that's all well and good now because we respect all these players. But after, when you draft the whole team, you guys are going to have to talk me into who's going to win so that someone can win the whole contest. So, yeah, that's part of it. So you can do the same thing with your team. You know, you can say like, oh, I got Hakeem Olajuwon, but I bet if I told Hakeem Olajuwon to shoot from like 5 more feet out, I bet he could figure it out. I bet he could, I bet he could do it against.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, you know what he's going to do in the post. You know, Tim Duncan found out too. No, but I like that, right? No, but no, I mean, Reggie, no matter what era, would have been awesome. Obviously, you know, the Knicks found out more than anybody else how good that man was. So yeah, like I said, running off screens, like I said, Bobby's absolutely right. No one did that better than him in that era. You know,
Ray Allen, I would argue.
Well, I'm saying like later on,
you
know what I'm saying? Yeah, but it's definitely, I feel like it's definitely Reggie and then Ray at that time, and then you know, as Reggie got older, then it became you know, Ray Allen.
Ray was still so good at it when he got old, though. Too, I will say.
Oh, for sure. I mean, he kept himself in phenomenal shape. It really
all he ever had to do.
So did Reggie, right? Yeah, I know, right? You know, so he did his thing. So yeah, like I said, I love the Reggie pick. Like I said, definitely is someone that can give buckets whenever you need it, and he's going to knock down free throws too. So.
I mean, they're a great scoring team that these guys are assembling right now. I feel like you guys are going a little bit more gritty. You know, a little bit more like who can dig themselves out in a 7-game series type thing. They're going like high volume. They're building like a 90s Golden State Warriors over there. All right. I love it. I'm with it. So what are you guys going to do for your third pick? I'm so excited.
Went a little more versatile this time, you know, this is a guy that could kind of play the 2 or the 3 at this time. You know, he was about 6'7", 6'8", had a great handle. You know, great guy, great vision. Wasn't the best defender, but definitely could score with the best of them. And, you know, was a triple-double waiting to happen. So we're going to go with 94-95 Penny Hardaway at the 2. So at the 2 position. So now we got Isaiah at the 1. We got Penny, who's a bigger version of Isaiah, basically dropping dimes behind his head, dunking on whoever he needs to dunk on. So, you know, a TD, watch out, because Tim Duncan, as good as he always was, he can never jump like that. So Penny could catch his ass at the rim if he needed to. And then, you know, if Duncan steps up, whoop, let me drop that dime off to Hakeem. Yam that and 1, and you know Hakeem's gonna get that and 1, gonna get that free throw. So yeah, so like I said, just gonna go a little more versus a little more pure talent. You know, so we had a little grit and grind with the first 2, but now, you know, get to a guy that's just raw ability and just like, yo, I'm gonna give you the ball, get out the way, and I'm gonna get the job done. In other words, a Big Daddy Kane.
Yeah, 2 guys at the 1 and 2 who can not only both pass, but are both going to score. One that averaged 18 points a game in the year that we selected him, and now Penny Hardaway, 21 points a game in the year that we took him here. But Ray's right; he's going to go up over Tim Duncan every single time. So, but almost 7.5 assists per game. And again, we have guys that are good scorers. They're not the greatest, but they're consistent, and they're. Wow, did I just pull a Bobby there? And they're going to get the job done.
I think it's a good pick. I think you're staying on that kind of, it's the 1990s grit and grinding. You know, we're going to like get a guy in at the 2 that can, like you said, size up Ray. You know, he's kind of a swing man in that sense. Like he's long, he's 6'7", but he kind of plays like he's even a little bit taller than that. He can go to the hoop. He can do all the stuff. I think you're totally right. I think is that true about his defending? Was he not that great?
I feel like that's not something he was known for.
I don't know if he was ever painted with the like he doesn't defend brush.
Right, but I'm saying, but if you said, okay, tell me about Penny Hardaway, like the first thing you're gonna talk about is Little Penny. The first thing you're gonna talk about is his athleticism, and then maybe 3rd or 4th, you're gonna speak about his defensive prowess. So, what is someone that was gonna lock you down, so to speak? Like that wasn't his role on the Orlando team. So
he was also but he was a big game guy too. Like he had big playoff games. Like he had like 30+ points in big games, and like this is the only.
I guess Reggie Miller's Indiana team, they smacked them that year to go to the finals, so pretty easily actually.
That was before Shaq left.
No, it was the year before he left because Shaq was there for 92.
Missed those free throws, right? That was that year.
Yeah, Anderson missed it in the finals.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then because they were never any good ever again after after Shaq left the Magic.
Yep, all because they didn't want to pay him what Alonzo Mourning was getting paid. Who could come up in this show, he just did, but he could have come up. he could get picked. So who knows?
It's a good team, and I honestly do think that he meshes really well with Isaiah and Hakeem. I think those guys can get in a room and decide what kind of basketball they're going to play. What do you guys think? How'd they do there?
It's a good pick.
So I think it's a good pick. This is the first one I'm going to say that I think there are better guys on the board that could have been picked at this point. Granted, I don't hate on Penny, and this is pre-injury Penny. So this knee went, right? This was his knee ended up going. So this is the version of Penny you would want, because this is when he was at the height of his powers for sure. Not the steal line from Ray, but yeah, I like the pick. I do think there was better guys left on the board, but I don't hate it.
I agree with him.
It's starting to take shape here. Little known trivia about Penny Hardaway: he actually played with Shaq again.
And the 07-08 Heat, I believe.
Oh, that's right.
Look at that. Yeah. Ray's got all the facts.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember that so clearly because I was like, this is like a sad reunion. Shaq's still good.
Right, exactly. And then literally Shaq got traded like weeks later to Phoenix.
I'm pretty sure they waited.
That was the corpse of Shaq. By the end of that season.
No, that was his last All-Star year, though. 08-09. That was his last All-Star.
You want to talk about the corpse of Shaq? The corpse of Shaq was dragged.
Was in Boston, exactly.
The big Shamrock? The big Shamrock, bro?
He was awful.
That was the corpse of Shaq, my friend.
He was like he was a combination of me and Craig on the court by that time. I'm just saying. He was
having a great time though. He was like, I'll just go get paid one more year, like whatever.
Remember, he was supposed to be the solution too. Remember, we got him. Everyone was like, "Oh, we got Shaq now."
He was for the first 25 games, and then his
body broke down.
It caught up to him. Unfortunately,
he's not moving great these days. I worry about him when I see him.
Neither am I. So I understand.
Well, you broke your ankle. That's not really the same thing.
He just got fat.
He just fatter. It's not even like he doesn't even get fatter. He gets like larger.
Yeah.
Large.
Goes into the world more. Like I
Large.
feel like he's never gonna die. Eventually, he'll just be like the size of an island, but like still doing fun, cool shit on the internet.
Still being Shaq, going in the middle of mosh pits and rages.
Right, and Mike knows where I'm going with this. I'm here for it.
And also, I'm sort of surprised that Shaq has not yet been picked. He's still on the board. I feel like if I was on one of your teams, I know he's not there yet in the 90s, but to me, most dominant center of all time. I don't think anyone had anything on him when he was in his prime. Really surprised he's still on the board, but that's me, and I'm not doing the picks. So let's go back over. Just to recap, Mike and Bobby have Allen Iverson at the point guard position, Reggie Miller at shooting guard. They have not picked a 3 yet. They have not picked a small forward. Tim Duncan's at power forward. They have not picked a center yet. Joe and Rayshawn have Isaiah Thomas at the 1, Penny Hardaway at the 2. They don't have a small forward yet. They don't have a power forward yet. And they got Hakeem Olajuwon at the 5. Okay, guys, give us your 4th pick. Tell us his name. Tell us a little ditty about him.
Yeah, man, like we got a lot of good soldiers, but sometimes you need an admiral. So we're going to go with the 1993-1994 David Robinson, averaged 29.8 points per game, 10.7 rebounds per game, 4.8 assists per game, 3 blocks and 2 steals per game. There is no better 5 for this team that we're building than the Admiral David Robinson.
Yeah, no. So this man, we're going to insert him right into the middle of this team. And it's, first of all, we're reuniting the best 4-5 combination the NBA has ever seen in David Robinson and Tim Duncan. Not only that, but we're giving Tim Duncan a version of David Robinson that he was never able to have before, and that's prime David Robinson. All right. This man in his prime was unstoppable at the 5 on offense and was by far the best defensive center in the NBA. This man averaging 3 blocks a game is unheard of. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't happen. So now we're going to have the best offensive team in the league, but we're also going to have a team that you're going to take, not to like start this argument already, but Isaiah Thomas, Penny Hardaway, and who was the last one?
Hakeem Olajuwon.
And Hakeem. All right. First of all, Hakeem and David Robinson, hell of a matchup. All right. But Isaiah Thomas and Anthony Hardaway aren't getting anywhere.
We're not doing this yet because immediately my brain then goes to like, well, who's their power forward? They haven't picked their power forward yet. Don't worry, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Bad. We'll get there. But I'm just saying, no one drives on David Robinson. All right. You will always think twice about driving on David Robinson, especially when he also has Tim Duncan to his side. So we're reuniting these twin towers. David Robinson, man, the Admiral, come on board.
So listen, I think it's a decent pick, but I feel like you guys maybe went on NBA.com and you were like, 90s basketball players sort by scoring. You're like, if he's got 30 plus points, he's on the team. Like, it's just like everyone can't score. Like, all your guys are scorers.
They all have the ability to score, but can do other things if needed. And this is,
if they all got their average points per game, you guys would or even drafting your last player, you would be scoring 140 points a game.
We still got 2 more to draft it.
Right. So great. I think it's a way to go. I think it's totally a way to go. I think that the other team so far to me seems like the good guys because I think that they're going to be scrappy and they're going to have to like really work to beat this like fucking steroid scoring machine that you guys are building because nothing else matters but points, apparently. I do agree that David Robinson was a fantastic defender. I totally get that. You're absolutely right. But he also scored mad buckets because he was huge and he was right by the rim all the time. So I think it's a good pick. I love David Robinson. I think I totally agree about the tandem. I think they're super cool to watch. I love how it was built. If you pick Greg Popovich as your coach, though, I feel like you're you've painted yourself into a corner here. But anyway, regardless, what do you guys think of those picks?
Well, so we hate the pick because it was going to be our next pick. It was literally our next pick. I don't know if you saw me in Ray's faces the moment he said it, but
I literally mouthed out like,
yeah. So no, it's a great pick. Honestly, it is. But Bobby sits here and says, nobody is going to drive on David Robinson, and even if they do, Tim Duncan's right there. Well, we're going to call them Nebraska and Oklahoma because Penny Hardaway is just going to fly over these guys. Fly over states, get it? Good dad joke. So it
got better when you explained it.
I know.
It's going to get better when you explain it.
It was bad execution. Ray, you want to make the pick or?
I'm gonna chime in. Says Bobby kind of opened the door about the David Robinson thing, and the only line I'm gonna say because I'm gonna respect what the host is saying. I just feel that we do have the neutralizer to David Robinson, and like I said, I'll explain further when we get to that point.
Are you going to draft him next?
Say it again.
Is that neutralizer? Or are you going to draft him next?
No. I'm saying the neutralizer already team, Akeem Olajuwon.
Oh, you think it's going to be?
I'm good. No, I already know. I'm going to explain later on why I said.
I don't know. That would be an interesting matchup.
No, it would be. I saw it happen, and I'm like I said, I'll explain it then. But anyway,
right.
so
Tell us your next pick. Tell us your next.
Still going with the versatile. Like I said, Bobby knows I'm about the stars. So this guy's going to be at our 3, so the small forward. So we're going with the 93-94 Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen was phenomenal this season. This is, season when Michael Jordan was forced to quote unquote retire. And, Pippen just took over, even though he did whine in that final game where Tony Kukoc hit the game winner against the Knicks in the conference finals. And he was crying like a baby on the sideline. He was awesome that year. He was an all-star. He carried that team to be 55-27. And if they really were one game away from going to the finals with Scottie Pippen leading that team. So 93-94 Scottie was awesome. We finally have our lockdown defender at the 3. We basically can switch now with Penny and Scottie. So that's where I'm going. I want to be as versatile as possible and, just let our point guard be the guy that we can quote unquote hide with being Isaiah Thomas. So can hide Isaiah. You got Penny at 6'8", Pippen also 6'8". So, and then we got Hakeem Olajuwon at 6'10", 6'11". So now, like I said, we have a pretty big team there, but, Hakeem Olajuwon can guard 1 through 5, and so can those other 2 guys. So, just trying to be versatile right now with what we pick.
Guys that can do everything, and that's what Scottie Pippen can do. This was such a great year for Scottie Pippen because he proved that he could do it without Michael Jordan after 3 straight championships. And, the first 3 years of his career were good, but he was at his best in this season with, again, another rebounder. So you don't always need a 4 or a 5 to get your rebounds, as he was averaging 9 a game in this season and 22 points per game. And it was also like Rayshawn just said, he mentioned he was a great defender. I mean, he had 3 steals per game. So just a good all around basketball player, very tough, and proved that he could do it as the leader of a team too.
I think it's funny. It's very cohesive, the basketball DNA that you guys and criteria that you guys use to select your players. They're all long, they're all athletic, they're all, like you said, versatile. I know you only gave the versatile credit to Scottie and Penny, but also like Isaiah Thomas, you can ask him to do a lot of different things. Hakeem Olajuwon, you can ask him to do a lot of different things. And it's all because like they all have inherent athleticism and length. Like it's a long team. Everybody on your team plays a little bit, with maybe the exception of Isaiah Thomas, plays a little bit longer than their body. And I think that's a cool style of basketball. I know what you're going for. I can see it. I'm picturing it. Similar on the Mike and Bobby team, but let's see what this last piece is. What do you guys think about that Scottie Pippen pick? I feel like that's big. That's big.
Yeah, it's a great pick. But remember, isn't that the same Scottie that just chumped out in the playoffs?
Yeah, that's what I know. I brought that up. It's true. But we're speaking to the totality of the season. He was a dog for majority of that year. There's no way that Phil should have gave the ball to Kukoc. Yes, Kukoc hit the game winner. So obviously, it doesn't get questioned now because Kukoc hit the game winner. But, Pippen was the guy. You give the ball to the guy in that moment. But, Pippen should have been a better teammate at that moment. But like I said, overall in that season, like I said, it was hard to go against what Scottie did that year and carrying a team, like I said, without the best player of all time up to that point. So
I'm not sure that Isaiah and Penny and Hakeem are letting Scottie pull some shit like that either. That's a different group of guys. Like, I don't think they're going to let him pull that shit. So
he doesn't have to be the guy. He didn't, he doesn't have to be the guy. And he
Scottie is, and looking at your team, Scottie is kind of the guy on your team. I think
no, it'd still be Hakeem.
Not in terms
like a shot at the end. Yeah. I guess it depends. It depends on the situation, but it's going to be Hakeem. You name the guy. It's your team. What do you guys think? So that was a good pick. Any more words of wisdom on the Scottie Pippen pick, or you want to just tell us who the 3 on your team is going to be to counteract him?
I like Scottie. I do like Scottie. I don't know if we're going to go our 3 next. What do you think, Mike? We're not going our 3 next.
No, we're not going. Yeah, we're going to do our 6-man next.
Yeah, we're throwing curveball here.
We just want to make sure that everyone has their chance to get in on the action, right? And we need that general there to control it. So we're going to go with our 6-man is a 1991-1992 John Stockton. Averaged 15.8 points per game, 13.7 assists per game, and 3 steals per game. Now, if there's ever a guy that can come in and make sure that the ship if it needs to be righted, it can be righted, it's him. Bobby, why do you love this pick?
So you think about the team. So DK, you already touched on it. You think about this team that we have is scorers. You know what I mean? They need to make sure they get the ball. If there's one person in NBA history who I know is going to make sure that these guys get their shots, open shots, and all stay happy, it's John Stockton, right? Yes, we have the highest volume shooter, maybe in NBA history, in Allen Iverson, but we know if we take him off the court, John Stockton is coming in, and he's going to make sure every other piece gets their points. Not only that, but we can also play Stockton and Iverson together and have Iverson play off ball. I know he hasn't done that much in his career. He never did it. But if there's any point guard I feel like he can do it with, it is John Stockton. Not only that, but he's a great defender. We need small ball defenders right now. So we got John Stockton coming off playing that defensive energy too. So we get multiple things because you always look for a 6-man. What are they bringing you off that bench? We got assists and we got defense coming off the bench. And that's what we're looking for here. So John Stockton.
I got a couple questions because now that I look at the entirety of your team, I would argue, not that my opinion matters, but this is just to help me understand your team. I would argue that John Stockton, chemistry-wise, flow of the game-wise, you'd want him to start. And if you made this whole speech about the pick and roll with Allen Iverson and Tim Duncan, it's like, if you want to run the pick and roll on your currently constituted team, you should probably have John Stockton do it because he was the best pick and roll point guard ever. So don't you think?
Well, we just want to make sure that you don't notice a difference between the starter and the 6-man. Like Stockton can come in and fill that void. AI can play it. We don't want there to be any drop off in competition
Don't you think AI off the bench is a crazy thing though? Like he could still play like 35 minutes, but like him coming off as a spark.
That would. But so that's the thing. When you think about it, you just added another element that no matter who we start at that point guard position, they can run the same team. Granted, yes, we're going to be a little more prolific scoring with Iverson starting. That's why we put him there. But at the same time,
we have a plan B now.
We have a plan B with Stockton can come in and play that point guard position, and it's like nothing ever changed. We're not going to get the same points out of that one position, but that offense is not going to change whatsoever.
I want to hear Joe and Ray's opinion on this, but I just will say one thing. I completely, wholeheartedly disagree that you will ever see in this imagination land John Stockton and Allen Iverson on the court at the same time. You'll quickly figure out that it has to be one or the other. That's just my opinion. But because, you're like, Allen Iverson never played off ball. There's 100% a reason for that. It was not his game. So he'd be out there, but he'd be which is fine, which is totally fine. I loved AI criticism of his game, but he's like the last guy I would ever want to see with John Stockton on the floor. But that's fine. Plan A, plan B, that's totally cool. Ray and Joe, go.
Yeah, so love the Stockton pick. Stockton was a dog. Obviously, like I said, someone is going to distribute the ball. I agree with you, Dave. I do think that he should have been the starter, but that's a whole nother topic that went on their team, so it doesn't matter. But I just think that, Stockton obviously is going to get you, he's going to get you those points when it matters. I do think he should have scored a little bit more throughout his career, honestly. But I know, obviously he has some others on that team.
That's well taken care of on their team. It's fine.
Yeah, but it's just like those are the only two guys that could really go get it, right? So it was like he wasn't talking about Hornacek getting that. He wasn't talking about like a young Howard Isley getting it. Like he wasn't worried about that. Like they had another Malone there named Jeff Malone, who could score back in the day, but his glory days was with the Washington Bullets, not with the Jazz. So excuse me. So you can look up his numbers as well. But yeah, I think that's where it is. Like he's someone that got like 17 and 14, maybe the year I think they're talking about. I'm not sure. But I mean, like I said, to me, I would have started him. But like I said, either way, it's a good pick. But like I said, I love the pick that we have coming up. So
are you going for your 6-man also?
Nope. Going for our four.
We're gonna go for our fifth starter. 1996, 1997, Karl Malone. In all 82 games that season, it was the fifth consecutive season he played every game. He literally played every game in 11 seasons in his career.
Isn't Karl Malone inexplicably like the third highest scorer of all time?
Second
highest scorer of all time, and he's
never gets talked about like that. But he's like literally scored the second most points ever. It's crazy.
Yeah, phenomenal.
And he started the most games in NBA history. So 27.4 points that year. We all know that he can do just about everything on the floor, and he's a gritty player. Really made those Utah Jazz teams what they were in the 90s, along with John Stockton. Again, he won the MVP that year. And while shooting 0% from three-point, he shot 55 from the floor. And 76% from the free throw line. So consistent, nearly 10 rebounds per game, nearly 4.5 assists per game, which is great for a 4. And we're happy to have him.
Right. And it's like we literally, so our 1 through 5 literally has every guy can pass the ball, which I'm huge on. I'm huge on movement. I'm huge on versatility. Like I'm huge on that. So I'm definitely rocking with someone that knows how to move the ball. And like I said, we could switch out things, right? And like I said, Malone's he's gonna bring out whoever your 4 is. And he's gonna face him up. He's gonna hit them with that 15-foot jumper, or he's gonna pump fake, go by him, and dunk on him. So he wasn't doing it as much by the time he won the MVP year, but that was when Utah finally got over the hump, right? So they had lost to Houston a couple of times. They had lost to Phoenix. They had lost really early in the playoffs a few years beforehand, but 96, 97 is the year they got over the hump. Actually, it's funny, thanks to John Stockton, actually, but like I said, Malone was the guy that drove the engine for sure. And like I said, it was really an easy pick once, Mike and Bobby made their pick.
Yeah, everybody needs a mailman.
Right, exactly. And me and Joe always deliver.
I think it's a good pick because, again, it fits the theme of your team. And like the way that you guys have both fleshed out your teams, you kind of have one generation of 90s players a little bit against the next generation of 90s players that like went on to be, early 2000s players. And I think it's an interesting matchup there. Carmelo brings the other team's going home with some bumps and bruises playing against the Joe and Rayshawn team. That's for sure. You guys scared of Carmelo? What's going on?
No. I mean, no shade. I think he's obviously one of the greatest NBA players of all time. I understand why they picked him. You want him on your team, but I think we have his kryptonite. So I'm not really worried about it.
Yeah, I mean, Carmelo in today's NBA would have had a better jump shot, would have had a better three-point shot, and he would have been one of the best players in the NBA today because his body is built. You think about it, he's LeBron James without a jump shot. That's what Karl Malone was. So yeah, he was unbelievable, but I do think we have someone to counteract him and also someone to counteract all the scorers that we have to bring some real defense here.
Without any further ado, I'm excited to see the final pick to make your entire team. Like, what's the glue that holds it together? Tell me.
Yeah, so this also goes along with who we're going to pick as our coach. But I want you to know that, we know that we're a high-scoring team. We need a balance. Who better to balance that playing is it the 3, Bobby? Yeah, it's the 3. It's the 3 than 1996, 1997 Dennis Rodman, who averaged
I knew it.
Who averaged 16 rebounds a game, 3 assists a game, 4 points a game, but was the best defensive player of the 90s and someone that would not let Karl Malone go anywhere near that rim if he had to. So, Bobby, I feel like this is the best pick against their last pick, and we had this solidified.
Yeah, and not only that, so we also have a guy who's just going to – listen, we have Allen Iverson, the highest volume shooter. Reggie Miller, one of the best shooters. We have Tim Duncan, someone who's just going to keep putting the ball up. And guess who's going to be there to gobble up all those rebounds? Dennis Rodman. This man is the most prolific rebounder in NBA history. He had one season where he averaged almost 18 rebounds a game. That is an absurd stat. There is no one in the NBA that can come close to this at this point. Plus, you add in that tenacity, that attitude that Dennis Rodman has, and bring it into this team of scorers. This team is going to be unbeatable. They're going to be unbeatable at the rim, unbeatable on the rebounds, unbeatable with scoring. It's just a team that right now I don't think can be beat. You add Dennis Rodman onto this team, and it's just it's lights out. Lights out. And this is the multicolored Dennis Rodman, too. We're not talking about the boring Detroit Pistons Dennis Rodman. This is the one with, like, the rainbow hair.
Yeah, no, he's gone full psychopath at this point.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a definite downside to the fact that, like, he might miss 2 of the games of this series when he play because he has to go to Vegas.
He has to go get married to himself real quick.
Shout out to Carmen Electra.
You guys are creating a potential boiler room situation.
Would you expect anything else from these two guys?
Right.
Like, it's Mike and Bobby GMing. They're arguing constantly. I don't know who their coach is. Hopefully he can get it in order because if AI says the wrong thing to Dennis Rodman, he's going to leave. Tim Duncan and David Robinson are at least quietly in the corner, like talking to John Stockton about how basketball works. But like the rest of them are just going fucking ballistic.
Right.
So,
Facts.
It'd be a fun team to cover. Think about podcasting content and this team.
Oh, yeah. It'd be crazy.
No, it's definitely fun. You're not wrong about that. There's going to be a lot of coke and hose at the Mike and Bobby team party.
I know you'll be there, bro.
Oh, my.
Yeah. Joe and Rayshawn are everyone's in bed by
Right.
9. You know, we get them in the morning.
Just like me and Joe in real life.
Yeah.
We just want to go out there and play hard. We just want to do our best. Get to the first. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about this final edition?
I mean, it's a
Crazy
good
Dennis
pick, right? Like it's I feel like none of our picks have been bad, and I don't think our last one is either. You know what I mean? But it comes down to what you just said, Dave. Like their team is so volatile. Like anything can pop off at any moment. And you're right. And John Stockton's just going to sit there and, relive the glory days on the bench.
There might be a fight, but it's going to be between the same team.
And then Bobby's going to try and put Iverson and Stockton on the floor at the same time. And then Stockton.
The universe will
exactly.
explode.
A black hole will be created.
Do it. Put him in.
Did you fucking hear what I said?
Don't do it.
I'm gonna give my 2 cents on their pick as well. Like I said, I knew that's all Mike. That had nothing to do with Bobby. Mike loves Dennis Rodman. No, but Mike loves Dennis Rodman because he was pissing me off about it in the chat about that. He was saying like Rodman was the best guy in Detroit, just to piss me off. So I knew he co-signed that shit. I know.
Yes, I co-signed.
Yeah, he definitely co-signed that shit. But it's almost like you guys were watching a lot of old San Antonio basketball too, because Rodman was at his best with David Robinson too, long before Tim Duncan actually came on the team. That team actually made the Western Conference Finals in 94, 95. And I'm trying to remember who did they lose to? Hakeem Olajuwon won. Sorry. Okay. So now I'll go into our final pick. Sorry, I just had to get out of it, Dave. Sorry about that. It was just on my mind. This to me was a no-brainer. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, maybe you guys did think about this, but like I said, me and Joe thought about this right away. For our 6th man and our final player selection, we're going to go with 1997, 1998, Kobe Bean Bryant. Like I said, sticking with versatility. Now you could put Isaiah Thomas on the bench. You got 6'6" Kobe at point guard. Oh, no, actually, no. You got 6'8" Penny at point guard. Penny played the point. You got Penny, Kobe, Scotty, Malone, and then Olajuwon. I mean, you got a team of 6'6" and above. They can switch everything 1 through 5. Super athletic, on the wing, can score, shoot it, dunk it, pass it. Like, to me, it's just like, it fits together perfectly, honestly, in my opinion.
It does, because we also added some youth here, Ray. Right. And this is exactly what Kobe did in the 97-98 season. He played in 79 games and came off the bench in 78 of them. And still in that time, he was averaging 26 minutes per game. So he can come off the floor or come off the bench onto the floor at any point, and you add fresh legs. He was a 43% shooter from the field, 34% from 3-point, 80% from the line. Even coming off the bench, he was consistent. And you add some youth here. He wasn't full-blown Kobe at this point yet, meaning he hadn't taken over the team, which is another reason we like putting him on there, because we have guys on that team that are going to be big personalities as well. But we feel like our guys are all going to get along, and putting a kid into the mix that clearly has all the potential in the world, as we saw. This is such a solid bench pick, even with how young he is.
Right. And like I said, he was an all-star the year too. He was an all-star in the second season, and that was a team with Nick Van Exel, with Eddie Jones, with Shaq, with Rick Fox, with Robert Horry, young Derek Fisher on that team as well. So Eldon Campbell as well. So that team was loaded. That team had a really good record his first 4 years before they won the championship. So yeah, like I said, to me, it was a no-brainer to go with him off the bench, because like I said, you're going to get scoring, you're going to get defense, and you're going to get someone who's a competitor, who's a dog. So it was a no-brainer for us. For me, it was a no-brainer.
Let's get a first, man.
I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but young Kobe, I thought was so overrated at the time.
Yeah, number 8 wasn't great.
I think later Shaq obviously carries them to that.
Watch that Indiana series to tell me if number 8 Kobe wasn't good. Watch the Indiana series.
Even if
41 in Game 4 when Shaq got fouled out.
And you're right, I'll still say it to you. I'm a liar. I will. Even if I've changed my mind, I'm like, oh, Ray's right, I'll still lie to you. It's fine. I don't feel bad at all. But no, I mean, yeah, I get why you did it. I think it's a good pick. I think before we go into coach selections, and before you guys give me your closing arguments on who was going to win, I would like to do a quick honorable mentions rundown, if you guys would just bear with me. Can't believe Shaq didn't make a team. Really can't. I would have insisted. He's so dominant. I understand the competition was fierce, but even in the late 90s, Shaquille O'Neal. I mean, come on. We were all there. So fun to watch. I thought some biases would creep in at least because, like, that's our era, you guys.
Can I tell you why? Because I thought about him long and hard.
You did.
And just the way I was picturing my team, I couldn't picture it running from the inside out. And that's how you have to run a Shaquille O'Neal-based team. And unless you have someone like a Kobe Bryant or a Penny Hardaway, I
thought you were going to go for that reason because Tim Duncan would have been right next to him, being able to play make from that other side. So I thought you were going to go with Shaq for that reason. But again, David Robinson and Tim Duncan's a great setup, not taking anything away from it. But Charles Barkley really thought he was going to make the cut. I could see him fitting seamlessly into Rayshawn and Joe's team. You know, he could definitely challenge any of those guys for a spot on that squad because of the things that he brings to the table. I know he never won a championship, but you got to respect Charles Barkley.
Yeah, so can I say why we didn't take Barkley? It's just like, so obviously, okay, we talked about Barkley on, in the group chat, but it was like, okay, Malone did what Barkley did a little bit better. And he's 3 or 4 inches taller, right? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's just like Barkley's awesome. And like, honestly, I thought I didn't even think about picking Barkley because I know we had talked about, I think off the chat, we might have talked about it on the previous show, but I know Mike was a big guy of Charles, well, at least Philadelphia Charles. So
it was that trade. Cool. Yeah, we banned that.
Yeah, that trade. Yeah, that trade. Yeah. So, the banishment trade. That was a great episode. Go back and check that out as well. But I thought, cheap plug, right? I thought for sure that they was going to pick Charles Barkley because I was like, I'm not even going to get my hopes up. I'll just pick Malone, who's, a little bit taller, put up a little bit better numbers over the stretch of his career. So, and then like far as Shaq, so even though young Shaq was versatile, I seen Hakeem Olajuwon dominate him in the finals, dominate him in 94, 95. So I was like, no, I was like, if we was talking about 99, 2000 Shaq that became the MVP and basically was just unstoppable that year, then that's a whole different Shaq. Like that to me, you have to start with him. Like if you don't start with him, you don't know basketball. Get us off the podcast. But right,
I think you can make the case that Hakeem Olajuwon is the best player of the 1990s, other than Michael Jordan. I think you can make.
He won multiple. Yeah, he won back to back. He's the only guy that won back to back.
I see why it's hard to not pick him. I totally get it. But those are my two big surprises. Just going to run down a quick list of other honorable mentions just because we respect their game. Drexler, could have seen him. Could have seen Sean Kemp.
Yep, he was on the list. He was on the list. He was definitely on the list. Yep.
I mean, the center position, if you think about the 90s, is stacked. Alonzo Mourning, Patrick Ewing.
On the list. On the list.
Any of these could have made a team, and it would have been completely respectable.
Well,
I see.
I mean,
that was going to be my next one. The glove.
I see why Gary Payton didn't go because of the other options on how you want to build a team in the 90s. I'm a little surprised Hardaway got in. Well, whatever. We'll get to that.
Which Hardaway though? Which Hardaway?
Can I tell you like one of our honorable mentions, DK?
Yeah.
It was obviously 94, 95 Sean Kemp, but also there was 95, 96 Chris Webber. But we realized that we had a ton of points. He averaged 23.7 points a game.
Could have picked him by the time I was making fun of you guys for getting all scores.
Right, we could have done that. Yeah, we could have done
that. That's when we pivoted towards Rodman. Right? We were between those two, and we were like, all right, we got our scoring. He's right. Let's go, Rodman.
I think the third kind of, I think you guys built two distinctive 90s NBA DNA teams, and I think the third one you could have built, we would have the option to build, would have been like the Latrell Sprewell, Alonzo Mourning type,
Gary Payton.
Gary Payton kind of hybrid team between the kind of two spectrums that you guys built. So it's interesting how it all shaped out. But those are just the honorable mentions. We've all obviously can't pick everybody. We loved all these guys, except I didn't really love 93, 94 Kobe, but RIP. So like respect. All right. Tell us who your coach is, Bobby and Mike.
So I'm just going to read. So we have a pretty wild cast of characters here, right?
Do you want me to tell you who you have? I have it written down.
You do?
Yeah, I can tell you your team. I can recap it for the listeners.
Oh, yeah. I think I'm the coach, but yes, tell me.
Oh no, sorry. So you have Iverson, Miller, Rodman, Duncan, and David Robinson as your first five, and then you have John Stockton as your sixth man coming off the bench. So that's who the group of players you're given to this coach.
This quote was the reason why we picked him. Well, Bobby doesn't know this yet, but I'm just going to read it. We wanted each individual to go above and beyond to achieve something that was going to help this team win a championship. That was our mission. We charted these every single day. After every game, every practice, we would give them a report card. After 2 weeks, we had a better meeting. It's Pat Riley. This man in the 80s and the 90s and even later in the 2000s was able to mold a bunch of characters to collectively go and achieve a team goal. There was no he wasn't someone that was defined or locked into one certain system. He knew how to get the best out of his players. And he didn't always have the same type of players. Like the 80s Lakers looked different than the 90s and the 2005 Heat, right? So we needed someone that was versatile, and we picked Pat Riley.
Yeah, that's 100% the reason. You look back at this guy's history, and he is the opposite of Phil Jackson. You know what I mean? He doesn't come in and take his system and force it upon a team. He comes into a team, looks at what he's got, and figures out his system and how he's going to run that team, which is the exact guy we need to come into this team. Like you guys said, volatile characters, guys that don't play off the ball. We have guys that aren't necessarily always going to get along, but Pat Riley being the glue, coming in here and sticking this team together is exactly what they need. I mean, you look at what he did. Granted, yes, he wasn't the head coach, but he was the architect of the Heatles, where we had three very distinct personalities coming in to create a common goal. And guess what? It worked. All right, so we'll never say the Heatles again. Pretend I never said that. Came in to take these guys to a common goal, and he did that. He did that with the Lakers. He did that with the Dwayne Wade, Shaquille O'Neal Heat. He knew exactly what they had to do to win, and he altered his coaching style to that. So,
yeah. I mean, to Bobby's point, whether it's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Michael Cooper, Magic Johnson, Byron Scott, or it's Shaquille O'Neal, Dwayne Wade, Antoine Walker, or it's what he just said that we can't say anymore, the big three in Miami, he knew how to get the best out of the people that he had in place and how to grow their talent. So I don't know of any better coach to coach our team than Pat Riley.
Yeah, so basically you guys are like, let's just go get the six guys we think are the six best guys. And Pat Riley can fucking figure it out. I don't know. He's good. I get it.
I mean, a bit of an oversimplification, but yeah, sure.
Take 40 minutes of podcast content into 5 seconds. Yeah, that's fine.
I don't know. Ask Pat.
Yeah, great.
He's the coach. That's what we pay him for. No, I'm just kidding. I see what you're doing. It's a good choice at coach. Pat Riley for coach. What do you guys think? You're afraid of this Pat Riley system?
He's a good coach, and it's a obvious choice for their team.
He's the only one that can do it, I think.
Well, sure. And, I've said on our show before, I mean, Pat Riley is a lot of the reason why Eric Spoelstra is the coach that Eric Spoelstra is. So, and he's a guy, I won't say the unsayable, as Bobby already said, but he did make it work in Miami, and Pat Riley was a big part of that. So I think this is a great pick for their team. It's just a no-brainer.
Well, I hate it because I literally we were thinking the same freaking guy. Like I was like, fuck. Like I was like, as soon as I heard like the explanation, I'm like, he's gonna pick Pat. He's going to pick Pat. I'm like, don't say it. But he did. It's okay. It's all right. Me and Joe, we learned how to pivot, so we pivoted. So so that leads into great segue, Rayshawn. Appreciate it. No.
So like you don't really hate it because you wanted it.
Yeah, exactly.
But he also doesn't fit our system.
Yeah,
So
it doesn't fit our style. So the guy that me and Joe literally pivoted like last minute. He definitely does fit the style. So, and this is another plug coming, Craig. So get this in the show notes. So there was a story that Jan Volk, the former GM of the Boston Celtics, he tells a wonderful story about the 1969 NBA Finals and where the Celtics had defeated the Lakers in 7 games. There was a guy who hit a shot that went literally up basically to the top of the ceiling, which I'm being hyperbolic, but it went up like to the top of the ceiling, went down, and they essentially won the game. That guy was number 19, who was retired by the Boston Celtics. His name is Don Nelson. So the reason why I bring up Don Nelson ended up coaching in the 80s, started with the Milwaukee Bucks. He was the originator of small ball, right? So you had a guy named Marcus Johnson. You had a guy named Phil Pressey, who played for the Celtics. That's his father. So that's a little fun fact for you guys there on that one. Let's talk about going to the rabbit hole. You had Ricky Pierce, no relation to Paul Pierce, but you had Ricky Pierce. You had Jack Sigma. You had Sidney Moncrief, who was the pick behind Magic Johnson in the late 70s. So, they were a small team that really played fast. They played quick. and, they were very versatile. So, and then Don Nelson goes to Golden State and he drafts Chris Webber. He has Billy Owens, Chris Mullin, Tim Hardaway, who also should have been the honorable mention. Tim Hardaway was a beast in the 90s. So was Chris Mullin. So was Mitch Richmond. Run TMC is one of the best big threes of all time. So, that could be put there as well. So, and then now it's like going to our team, right? So, young Kobe, got Pippen, got Olajuwon. You have Malone, and you have Isaiah Thomas, right? Like you have 6 guys who can literally switch in and out. Like I said, maybe not at T as much because he was smaller, obviously, but you have 5 out of 6 guys, that can switch back and forth. And that, to me, Don Nelson originated that style. Well, actually, he took the style to another level because his coach, Tommy Heinsohn, actually took it to another level and started Dave Cowens at center, who we also talk about on the Jen Volk interview. So, yeah, so it's like that's the guy that took small ball to another level. So, with our versatile players, it was a no-brainer to kind of pivot after Pat Riley, but pivot to Don Nelson to be our coach there.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we want to do is the same thing you guys are doing with Pat Riley is we want somebody that's going to manage the players on the floor and get the most out of them, out of all 6 of our versatile players and the times that we picked them. And Don Nelson coached for a very long time and was successful in the 90s as well, and really turned around a Golden State team in the early 90s that needed it at the time. So he can definitely do that with this team.
Yeah, it's a good pick. I think it makes perfect sense for your team. I think you guys are a very wholesome basketball team. It's very like the Pleasantville basketball team before they go away from being in black and white. Is that too specific of a reference?
No, shout out to WandaVision. Yep, I know it. Me and Bobby watched it.
WandaVision fans out there. I feel like you guys are going to wear like the short NBA shorts. I feel like you're going to warm up.
Ray and I are going to wear them too.
You're going to wear you guys are going to wear them. You're going to have folded.
We're going to be in the press box though.
With like high top Chuck Taylors. Everybody's going to have like the goggles and the headband. It's going to be great. I really think I can totally see the DNA of your team. I think it's awesome. What do you guys think, Don Nelson?
I like Don Nelson. I just want to give credit to Ray for the amount of deep dives that his brain tried to go on that explanation right there, and how many times he pulled himself back out. That was amazing, bro. That was great. You
appreciate that, man.
That was awesome.
I didn't want Craig to yell at me after the show, so I was like, let me stop. Let me stop.
Mike, anything to add on Don Nelson before we go to closing statements?
No, I think for the team that they've constructed, he's the guy that you want to lead it, right? I mean, if I was in their shoes, I'd pick him too. So it's a very smart pick.
All right. Very respectful and complimentary we've been today. Very rare for us. Not going to be the case once Dennis gets here. I can predict that as certainly being true. So since Bobby and Mike got to go first in the draft, I'll let you guys choose. Would you guys like to make your closing arguments, Rayshawn and Joe, first, or would you like to go second?
I don't mind going first.
Yeah, let's go first.
Yeah,
let it rip. Why will your team win against Bobby and Mike's team?
Yeah, so listen, there's only one basketball, right? So when you have 5 guys that are getting 25 or more just about on their team, which is great, right? It looks great on paper, but we've seen teams before in the NBA that looks great on paper and doesn't do much when it matters most. Like you need pieces that fit, right? And yes, you need stars, you need guys that can say, okay, I'm going to give you the ball, take us there. Well, we have that on our team, right? So if IT just says, hey, you know what? I only want to get 15 points tonight and I want to get 15 to 20 assists, cool. I'm going to pass it off to Pippen, let him do what he wants to do. Oh, we want to slow it down. Let's dump it down to Olajuwon and let him work. Let him work David Robinson. So I said I was going to bring this up. So now I'm glad I reminded myself because I would have forgotten and I would have said it after the show. I'd have been pissed off. That 94-95 year, right? And I said about who lost to who, right? Because Hakeem Olajuwon beat them. So David Robinson was the MVP that year, right? There's a story that Kenny Smith told about how Hakeem Olajuwon was actually mad that David Robinson got the MVP over him. So he said, tonight is my night. And basically that's the game where he shook him out his shoes twice on the same play and came back in the locker room and said, I think I'll go back and take my trophy from the locker room. So that's a great story. Watch NBA Open Court if you haven't. It's a great show. Like I said, not a sponsor or not plugging it, but it was a great show. I did, but it helped me tap into my prior knowledge. So that's why I did that. But yeah, so like I said, versatility, that's we beat that dead horse. We talk about versatility all day. We got guys that can defend. We got guys that can score. We got guys that can shoot, guys that can pass. So literally 1 through 5, really 1 through 6, we got guys that could do it all. So to me, it's just that simple. We'd win in 7. Like it's definitely going to go 7 games, and we win in 7. I say the final score would have been like 105 to 101.
Yeah, and to go back to the beginning of what Ray said, there is that, Mike and Bobby's team looks great on paper, but one of the members of that team has always said that you don't win championships on paper champions, right, Mike? So with that said, with the team that we've constructed, Ray just said it very well, very eloquently, and I'm going to basically echo that, and putting together, as Dave said, the gritty veteran that can do a little bit of everything, and then adding in a young Kobe Bryant, who you admittedly thought was overrated, Dave, which we can understand, but putting with these guys on the floor, that's going to allow him to flourish, especially in a 7-game series, because that's all we're playing at this point. So let's go 7 games, our 6 against their 6, and call it what it is. And with Don Nelson at the helm, I don't think there's much our guys can't do.
All right. Rebuttals?
You want me to go first, Mike? I'll go first. All right, I'll go first.
Well,
if you insist.
I feel like you're like, this is your thing, man. Like, the NBA. I'm gonna let you close it out.
All right.
Okay. There's not one thing that our team can't do. We can score, we can rebound, we can defend, we can do it all. You guys, like, you ask a lot of questions, right? We have the answer in Allen Iverson. Unequivocally, he's the man. And until you come up with a solution that's going to defeat Allen Iverson, Reggie Miller, Dennis Rodman, Tim Duncan, and David Robinson, there's really nothing else that I need to say, because we have points, we have size, we have speed, and we have the pick and roll that Bobby said in the beginning. But then off the bench, if in case maybe there is a chance that AI gets a little too shot happy, John Stockton. He's going to come out and facilitate that offense. He's going to make sure, again, that there is not a drop off in talent, but that there is a distribution of the ball. So maybe AI scores 30, but I promise you Stockton will be a multiplier on that team, and he will make other people around him better. So again, I respect you. I respect your team. I don't think it's going to go 7, but I can let Bobby go ahead and close it out.
I honestly think that this is going to sound crazy. I think we sweep the series, because I don't see anyone on this team that, even if we play no defense at all, there's not a single person on this team that can keep up with the scoring that we're going to offer. You say the final score is going to be 105 to 101. I guarantee you this team does not score less than 110 points in a game. Even if one guy is off, we got someone else who's ready to drop 30 at the drop of a dime. No matter what, someone's going off on our team. It's just a matter of who. So it's a pick your poison with this team. Plus, on top of that, we have 2 of the best defensive players in NBA history with David Robinson and Dennis Rodman. Right? These guys were multiple-time first team all-time, or first team all defensive players in the NBA. This team is unstoppable. Plus, you add in Pat Riley with being the coach, letting this team play, letting them do their thing. There's nothing you can do to stop this team. We are the Brooklyn Nets. We are scoring 140 points every single time we step out on that floor. I'm just saying.
Physically in pain when you made that comparison.
But you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter who you try and stop on our team, because all it takes is someone else going off. You can try and stop Allen Iverson. That's fine. We'll dish it out to Reggie Miller. He'll score 30 points. You can try and stop Reggie. That's fine. We'll let our Twin Towers do the killing. You can try and go at us. You can try and go at us with...
Take that for a soundbite, Craig.
I'm just saying, you can try and go at us with this dynamic team that you guys have scoring, but guess what? You're not getting anywhere near the rim, and you don't have shooters to counteract the fact that you can't drive the basketball on us. So all these things you guys are saying, it doesn't matter. No matter what you do, we have something else to cancel it out.
Well, you forget that we have Penny Hardaway. Okay, so don't say that we can't drive on you. Okay, so number one.
But we have Dennis Rodman and Tim Duncan. They're just going to swat that shit back at you.
Yeah, you've said that already, and we've already done this twice now, so I'm not going to do it a third time and take your bait. The second thing is, the one thing that will stop Allen Iverson, Mike, is practice. So there is one mandatory practice day in the series. Okay. Boom. So we'll see.
We got Pat Riley. We don't have Larry Brown. Pat Riley's not going to make Allen Iverson practice. He's going to let him play the game. To that. He's going to let him play the game that he loves.
I don't necessarily support what Bobby just said, like the actual words, but I suppose.
Wow, you guys waited until the end to turn on each other this time. Congrats.
Well, the practice thing, I think we're just doing the whole the practicing doesn't matter. Like, it's
practice.
It's 4-0 and Rayshawn. It's ball game.
Dave, if we go back to every one of these shows, I can guarantee you that right around the same timestamp, Mike says that exact same sentence in towards something that Bobby says. We can probably timestamp every time it happens. My last question for you guys is, you mentioned all these scorers you have and all these things. In basketball and football especially, how often does it go really well when everybody wants the ball? How well does that go?
Yeah, but the way that you frame your question is irrelevant to our team. Everyone, when they have the chance to score, can. But they won't feel the need to only be like a hero. They know that they have this. They got. What's that?
Rodman's not going to score.
Okay, sorry. Everyone's
not going to score. Check the numbers. Dennis Rodman ain't scoring.
Everyone but Rodman.
He ain't scoring shit. That's
everyone but Rodman.
Right. So you're playing 4-on-5. So that's a numbers game. And so in other words,
but I think one can make the argument that Rodman would negate one of your scores. So like it's now it's for anyone that tries to drive to the rim. How about that?
Here we go again.
Anyone. You pick
a larger one.
He'll stay there.
A larger one's gonna get whatever he wanted. Like I said, he done dominated David Robinson. Tim Duncan, I give you Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan's gonna get whatever he wanted. I got you on it. Tim Duncan's gonna get his buckets. I got you. But to me, the rest of it is a toss up. Like Tim Duncan is the clear advantage. Just like I think Hakeem is our clear advantage. Then it's kind of even across the board, in my opinion. After you get to that, so now that's a toss up. So if it's a toss up, it's just whoever's hot at that moment. And I trust the guys that we put together that's going to mesh together. And like I said, everyone can make a play. So it's just like, you can't just say, well, you can sag off Dennis Rodman. You can't sag off Penny. Maybe you could have sagged off a young Kobe since, talked about, we said his numbers were 43%, 34 and 80. But once again, if Kobe gets by you, he's yamming it home on you, especially at that point in his career. So same thing with Penny. Penny was doing stuff that Dwayne Wade was doing in the 90s. So what I mean by that, his footwork was ridiculous in the 90s. Like there's a play to him that gets showed where he does like a reverse pivot and it looks like a travel, but it's like the dude basically like bowed down before him and he hits the jumper. Like it was insane. So like I said, Tim Duncan and the larger ones to me are the clear advantages on both sides, but the rest of it to me is a toss-up. And like I said, there's going to be times when you're playing 4 or 5 because Rodman's not going to look to shoot, and there's going to be a moment where he's going to need to hit a bucket. And you said this is the color hair Rodman, not the guy in Detroit. The guy in Detroit actually could hit a few shots then, but the guy by the time he got to Chicago, he wasn't hitting shots. He wasn't doing that. Just saying.
No, he didn't have to.
And Bobby, you want to compare your two guys to buildings. Last I checked, buildings don't move. Penny Hardaway does.
Boom.
So I think I've decided.
Don't make me do it.
I agree with a lot of what Rayshawn was just saying in the sense that I do think that Hakeem Olajuwon's a big advantage. I'm not 100% sure you have like a direct answer for him on your team, but
sure, Mike does.
I do admire your front court. I think it's a really fun and entertaining front court, Mike and Bobby. I think it's a fun combination to watch because we've seen it. And then to add Dennis Rodman in there, I think it's just super cool. I want to see it. That being said, I don't love the choice of John Stockton and Allen Iverson in the same team, which we've talked about. Don't need to beat that dead horse. I really think that Kobe Bryant, and I urge everyone to hear me out on this. This is like 90, what year? 96, Kobe Bryant, you said?
No, 97, 98. So for his first All-Star appearance.
97, 98, Kobe Bryant, I think is going to have a little bit of trouble running around after Reggie Miller. I think he's going to
on our bench.
Right. No, thank you, Joe. Right.
So you're not going to play him?
Well, no, I didn't say that. I just said you got to be limited.
But he's not going to be running around for 48 minutes against Reggie.
Right, because I'm putting Scotty on Reggie easily.
Okay, well then he's going to get put out on Iverson, which is going to get a lot worse, actually. But I think that Joe and Rayshawn have a little bit of the edge when it comes to Hakeem Olajuwon. It's very difficult for me to argue with the amount of points that Mike and Bobby are putting up. I really genuinely believe Bobby when he says, if this guy's not doing it, then this guy's doing it. If this guy's not doing it, then this guy's not going to do it. And I think that's true. And I do, even though I don't love their guard choices, like the combination, they can play in two different ways. And I think that as much as you guys might be a little bit more well-rounded, I do think it goes to 7, but I'm going to go with Mike and Bobby.
I have to say I disagree.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, you should.
I know. Because I have to make two enemies with my friends every time we do this. It really hurts me deep down.
No time in history has a team that has had all scorers on it scored.
I know, but no one's ever had
That's how sports
these
works.
scores.
No one's ever had these scores.
But there's a reason why it never happens that way.
I think that I agree with you that they have more downside than you guys have, but they also went a little riskier and they brought more upside to the table. And their ceiling, if they do what they say they're going to do, they were going to score a lot of points. And I think that's really, really hard to beat a team that scores like 145 points.
Right. No, I'm saying, but Bobby said it best. And, he basically threw the alley-oop to us when he said, we're the Brooklyn Nets, they're going to score 140. Well, Mike said it earlier in the year, and he still says it now. Well, they may give up 145. Just saying. So, and if that's the case, then guess what, Mike? It's ball game for us.
Not with Dennis Rodman, Tim Duncan, and David Robinson.
Just to be clear, like DK just made sure that it was ball game for us. So it's been decided.
Sure. But my opinion's subjective. I will also say that you also have a bunch of volume guys on your team. You're going to, like we talked about, you're going to put Reggie Miller in a situation where his volume is going to go up. And then when you have a lot of volume guys and you have somebody who can go get rebounds, that's a really good combination. And I think that's just like a smart combination to make. And also, again, more downside. Dennis Rodman might your team bus on fire, or he might just like go and average 19 rebounds. Like one or the other could happen. So yes, more downside, but fortune favors and I like a little boldness in my coffee in the morning. So the best part of waking up is you guys in my cup. Congratulations on the win. That'll do it for our 90s draft
game show.
I hated that.
Joe's his typical bitter self when he comes out on the losing side. Don't take it out on your family. And we will see you guys next time. Thank you guys for coming. Thanks for listening.
Step inside the marketing mirror to uncover marketing secrets, discover gems, tactics, lessons, and campaigns you can use, next gen or fundamentals. Grab the marketing magic to improve your marketing and win more business.
Electricast.
Welcome, explorers of the human experience. This is Let's Talk Soul, and I'm your host, Claudia Monticelli. We're not afraid of the great mysteries of existence here. Soul versus consciousness, we're on it. Spirituality versus science, we've got that covered too. Join us in navigating these profound topics with wisdom, curiosity, and a dash of audacity. Whether you're a spiritual veteran or just starting your journey, Let's Talk Soul is your passport to the unknown. Let's Talk Soul, diving into the depths of the human spirit. Subscribe now wherever you get your podcasts.
Electricast.